Here are the golfer profiles for the European Tour, and for purposes of uniformity and to make it easier, I did try to create the golfer profiles for the Euro Tour similar to what I've done for the PGA Tour. The data is a little bit different. There's not as much data for the European Tour, so you'll see different things. But generally, this is a really good place to get a deep dive into a specific golfer, learn more about them, and figure out what they've been doing recently. So I have Brandon Grace pulled up here. You can see, I've got some career-long information up here in the top left-hand corner, which I like for the Euro Tour because I want to know, hey, is this guy like a regular touring European Tour player, or has he not made a lot of starts here? There is something to the travel every single week on the European Tour and all the different countries that they play in. I kind of want to get a good bearing, especially because I'm not as familiar with the European Tour guys as I am for the PGA Tour guys. So I did want to be able to compare, okay, here are career earnings, 14.5 million, that's a ton, 198 career starts, and 9 victories on the European Tour. Like, that's really good to know. I can see the top events that Brandon Grace has had sorted by earnings. I can see, he's been on the tour for, at this point, over a decade, and I can hover over and see what his earnings were for each season. This gives me a really good baseline for who Brandon Grace is, especially if you're looking at a lot of names on the Euro Tour that you might not be familiar with. At the bottom here, this should look fairly similar to some of the other golfer profiles or other tools that I have on the website, which is, most recent tournaments by date, the name of that tournament, the finishing position for that tournament, how much money they earned, and then their round by round scoring. So this allows me to go through and get a deeper dive. Okay, Brandon Grace, I can see that he won the South African Open the last time he played. He finished with a 62. I like the round by round scoring because it allows me to see, like, if someone didn't necessarily finish super well in the tournament before, but like if they played well in the last 2 rounds, I like to use that as, hey, they found something towards the end of the tournament. They might be able to keep it going into next week. That stuff is important to me. And then you can obviously flip through the different golfers here. So if we pull up Rory, remember, this is just going to be his Euro Tour stuff. I mean, 39 million on the Euro Tour is kind of crazy. And you can see he's had some nuts years, like 7 million in 2014, because he goes over there, he wins all the big events, and he comes back. And also keep in mind, the European Tour does count WGCs, majors, like anything that might be like a co-sanctioned European Tour event would also count here. So that's why you'll see the PGA Championship, the US Open, the Open Championship, the WGC. Those are the same tournaments that we would see on the PGA Tour side. They're also being counted over here on the European Tour side. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these golfers, which is why I like having the tournament history here. So that's really the golfer profiles for the European Tour. As I get more data on these guys, I will incorporate it here. But this is a really good snapshot to be able to focus in on one single golfer.